Hey y'all! Before I get into this video, if you didn't see the thumbnail, it's going to be all of my 5-star reads that I found in 2024. And let me tell you, it was a good year. But before we do that, I am so happy and overwhelmed with all of the comments on my very first video. Like, that was more, I literally thought maybe I'd get 20 views and 2 subscribers from it. So thank you to everyone who did find me, who subscribed, who commented. It truly made me so happy. And this is my response to all of you guys. I read and liked every single one of them because this is already so much fun and I'm having a blast. But that leads me to my second video of Booktube. I'm going to go through all my 5-star reads of 2024 since I'm a little bit tardy to the party this year. Let me tell you, it was my best reading year yet. I read so many books, number one. Number two, this is the most 5 stars I've ever found in a year. I am usually lucky to find 5 stars. That doesn't mean I don't love a lot of books and enjoy them, but these are books that I absolutely obsess over and continue to think about. And if you'll catch my drift, you might see multiple copies of some of these books. But I'm so excited to go through these because these are my books that I cannot recommend enough to you. Some of them I would say are even 6-star reads. I would go as far to say that. You may notice on my Goodreads, if anyone ever follows me over there, I'll link that down below. But some of them may have 5 stars that weren't actually 5 stars. Not because they weren't like amazing, but probably because I gave them like 4.5 stars. But of course, you can't rate half stars on Goodreads. So I usually will just round up on that because I don't want to bring the author down, of course. I want them to realize that I did love their book and I want other people to read it still too, even if it wasn't a true 5-star read. 4.5 is still pretty dang good. And in my rating scale, even 3 stars is good. 3 stars means I enjoyed the book, I had fun reading it. 4 stars means it was really dang good and addictive and I had a blast reading it. And 5 stars means it was like over the moon amazing. Can't stop thinking of it outside of reading it. So again, those are all still good ratings. Now, the one thing I still need to work on is DNFing, but that's for a later time this year. Thank you guys again so much. Let's get into this video. All right. To start us off, one of my new authors that I found in 2024 was Abby Jimenez. And once I found her, I just fell in love with her writing. I think it's probably because I started with some of her later works, because I have now gone back and read some of her earlier ones. And her writing evolved tremendously. I mean, it was great to start with, but reading her new books, I think I started with her newest book, which was Just for the Summer, which is our first 5-star read. And it just blew me away. It's so poetic and deep and lyrical, but still has that funny comedic value and some of the banter that's in here. And I just had so much fun reading this, reading the characters. It is the epitome of if he wanted to, he would. So for all of my girls where that's your love language, if he wanted to, he would. And this is exactly that in a book. I think his name is Justin. Yeah, Justin. So it's Justin and Emma. And Emma's so cute because she's a nurse, but she's on social media and it's this whole DMing situation. And they both have this, not curse, but like almost bad luck scenario where, relationships never end well for them and all this stuff. So basically make a pact to break their bad luck. And it's just so much fun. I had such a blast. It was a fun concept. It was a great introduction into Abby Jimenez, and it absolutely got me hooked into it. Plus the cover. I'm always gonna appreciate a good cover, y'all. I mean, it looks so good on my bookshelf, and it just gives all the summer vibes. So yes, it's called Just for the Summer, but I would also say to read it in the summer because it was the perfect read to have like on the beach or when you're just having a really sunny day. I read this outside. I had so much fun with it, and I literally binged it in like a day and a half, which it's a thick book. Like, I think that's pretty good for a day and a half, and it just reads so easily. It's so addictive. So that was my first 5-star read. And then after I read that, I did kind of read that series in backwards order because it's all part of an interconnected standalone. And the first one is Part of Your World. And then the second one is Yours Truly, which was my next 5-star read. So she got 2 5-star reads out of me in 2024. Like, that's pretty dang good if I did say so myself. And Yours Truly was amazing too. I had so much fun connecting to the characters and just seeing the dynamics that went on there, where I think Part of Your World, I gave 4 stars. I did really enjoy the book. I really loved it, but I just didn't connect as much to the characters there. I wasn't as invested as I was in these 2 books, and these 2 books I could not stop thinking about afterwards, and I recommended them to so many people. I even got my mother-in-law to read one of them, so Little flex there. So this one you're following Brianna or Brianna, however you say her name. She's a doctor, and you're kind of in this scenario. A lot of times, I feel like the girl or the woman that's the main character in it is the one that maybe might be considered a little bit anxious, uptight, nervous, that kind of thing. But you're actually following Jacob. He's the one, so it kind of flips your perspective and shows you that a man can also struggle with anxiety like he does. He gets very anxious, and it kind of plays a factor into his everyday life. And she thinks they're going to be enemies and are mortal enemies in the beginning. And then, of course, the more she gets to know him, the more she understands like he's actually a really good person and he's very sweet, and they kind of get to know each other. I think if I remember correctly, there was a little bit of a fake dating trope going on here, but in my mind, it was never that to begin with. So it's fine. But I truly, I truly had so much fun reading these books and discovering that new author. And I will definitely be following along with her because I think she is releasing a fourth book, correct me if I'm wrong, within this interconnected standalone series. And if I do remember right, the cover is just as beautiful as Just for the Summer was. So it will look equally amazing on my bookshelf, which is what really matters, right? I'm kidding. It's not all that matters. All right. This next one might be a little bit controversial. Again, it's another new author that I found in 2024. I've only read 2 books by her. One of them was really good, and I think the one that I did not give 5 stars is the one everybody else gave 5 stars to. But the one I gave 5 stars to is Hello Stranger by Catherine Center. Apparently, this wasn't the one everyone was obsessed with. They were all obsessed with. I'm looking for it on my shelf, but the sun is blinding me. The Bodyguard. Everyone was obsessed with The Bodyguard, and that shocked me. I don't know if it's because I read this one first, so it was my first kind of like taste of Catherine Center's writing, but I was obsessed with the concept of this book. Like, I thought it was, yes, kind of obvious throughout what was going on, like who was who and what was going on, but just the concept I thought was so clever. Like, I had never heard of this. So you're following Sadie, who's a struggling artist, and her mom has passed away. She kind of has a strained relationship with her father. And at the very beginning of the book, she has this huge traumatic event happen, which I thought was insane. Like, it started off with a bang right away. She has this big crazy thing happen, and she has to undergo emergency surgery. And as a defect of that emergency surgery, she has this thing, I can't remember what it's called specifically, but her brain has some swelling in it, of course. And until the swelling goes down, and if the swelling goes down, of course, her brain can see aspects of people's faces, but it can't altogether recognize the face. So she's walking around, and unless she really, really knows the person and their voice, she has no clue who she's looking at, who she's talking to. It could be the same person, it could be multiple people. I thought that was so interesting. Maybe it's because I've never heard of that, and so I kind of nerded out a little bit with it. But I don't know. I had a blast with this one, and I connected to it and liked it a lot more than The Bodyguard. But it seems like I am in a little bit of the minority on that one, which I think is insanity. Bodyguard was good. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. It just wasn't anything super special to me. I mean, I still thought it was great. I really want to read the is it the rom-commers or the rom-com? I think it's the rom-commers. That's next on my list of Catherine Center because I did really enjoy both books. I mean, a 4 and a 5 stars is still amazing, but the concepts of them I thought were just so fun and funny at the same time. So I'll definitely be reading more by her, but sorry if that was controversial for you. Comment if it is. I'd love to hear your reasoning of why you liked The Bodyguard more than Hello Stranger. I don't know. It's so funny how everyone has different opinions, but that's the fun of reading, right? Next, we have Assistant to the Villain. Oh my gosh, this book was so much fun. I had a blast reading it. Like, I cannot say that enough. If you just want a fun book, this is it. It felt like an adult fairy tale, is the best way to describe it. That's literally it in a nutshell. You are following your main character, Evie, in this one, and Evie's quirky. She's fun, and I think that's what makes the book so quirky and fun. That's just the best way to describe it until you read it. And I think it's definitely hit or miss for a lot of people. I feel like you either really, really enjoy the book and the way it's written, or you really don't. To me, if anybody out there has ever seen Ella Enchanted, just the way that whole world is set up with the ogres and the giants and the leprechauns, and that whole world is how I imagined this book. I don't know if that's an accurate depiction. I don't know if that's an accurate depiction, but Hannah Nicole Mayer, I hope I didn't just butcher your name. I'm so sorry if I did. If you're out there and you do see this, please let me know if that's what you're imagining when you develop this entire world, because for some reason that's what I'm seeing in my brain. And I don't know if that's right or not, but I'm just reversing it to think like the villain rather than being the Prince Charles' father, evil stepfather kind of scenario. It's just like the other way around. Like Prince Charles viewed as this horrible, horrible being, like he is in Ella's eyes, but he is not too bad, you know? I mean, he's still a villain, definitely, but I don't know. I just found so much comedic relief. Oh my gosh. And the frog, I'm not going to go too much into him, but he's on the book. Where is he? With the sign, his commentary. Oh my gosh, come on. Like, it's hilarious. And I did read the second one. The second one wasn't quite 5 stars. I still had just as much fun reading it. I mean, I would totally recommend these to anybody. Again, I think it's very niche, but I feel like within the first few chapters, once you've seen the way that it's written, you would know right away if you're going to enjoy it or not. You don't have to like read 100 pages to know if you're going to enjoy it, if that makes sense. You either really like it and find it funny and quirky, or you really don't like it, I feel is kind of how it would go. But I had a blast reading it. I thought it was so different from anything else I've read. I've read a ton of romance, a lot of fantasy, and that was just kind of like just written differently. It wasn't so dramatic and fall in love, head over heels this, and it was just very different. I don't know. It was a breath of fresh air. Maybe I just read it at the right time, but I think there's other people out there who had a blast reading it too. Next, we have Phantasma. Wow, this one threw me for a loop. I saw it kind of not blowing up, but I saw it recommended a little bit on social media, and it was a standalone technically. There's a second book coming out, but the second book has like nothing to do with this one. It's following the main character's sister. So like it's basically a standalone fantasy, which you don't see a lot of those. And I love a good standalone, not having to invest all of my time and effort into a whole nother series, especially one that's not complete. Breath of fresh air, because my TBR is too long to begin with. But I just thought the whole idea of this was so interesting, and the whole concept was so bingeable. Like, usually for a fantasy, my brain is really working through the whole thing. And I don't even feel like my brain was in overdrive for this one. Like, I feel like it was explained very well, very thoroughly throughout the whole thing. But basically, you're following Ophelia, which, first of all, that name, Ophelia, I don't know what it is. I think that's a gorgeous name. So, like, Ophelia. I don't know. It's just, it feels right. Anywho, Ophelia's mother has passed away suddenly, and she is the oldest daughter. She has one younger sister, and she is now taking on the role of necromancer. Is that the right term? I think so. I don't know. Don't come at me if I'm wrong, or correct me if I'm wrong. Whatever. Sue me. Not really. Not literally. We're besties here. Don't sue me, please. Anywho, we're following Ophelia. Her mom has died, and she is now the necromancer of her family. Again, don't quote me on that terminology there, but she now has her eyes have changed because she now has transferred that power onto her. And so she has these like ice blue eyes, and her sister is MIA. She's very fiery. She's kind of an impulsive woman, and they kind of realized that their mother was in some trouble financially and all kinds of things going on. And so her sister and her argue about it, and then her sister disappears, and she goes to find her, and they wander into the world of Phantasma. And everybody tells you, stay away from Phantasma. Unless you want to die, you're going to go through all of these trials. You're meeting all of the different devils, basically. And it's very interesting the way she goes through the whole process, and her being in Phantasma and the mansion and the characters that she meets throughout the way. I don't know. It was very different. I think it would be a really cool TV show as well. Throwing that one out there. Maybe Netflix or somebody would pick that up. But I had a good time reading it. I really did. I thought it was great. I did predict the plot twist that was going to happen at the end, but it was still one that I don't think a lot of people would predict. Like, it just the way it was done was beautiful to me. So I still gave it a 5 stars, even though I predicted that. And I mentioned this a little bit in my last video, but Emily Henry is one of those authors that has blown up more recently, but I have been following her since her first book that she published. I think I own most of them, if not all of them, over there. But like A Million Junes, The Love That Split the World, those more like sci-fi romance books, I guess you would qualify them as. I don't really know. But her early works, I loved them. I read them back in high school with some of my friends. My friend is actually the one who suggested her to me first, and then we fell in love with her and read all of her books. And then fast forward a few years later, I'm seeing all these people rave about like Beach Read and Book Lovers and all these different ones. And I'm like, why does this look so familiar to me? And so I look her up and I'm going through my Goodreads and I realize, oh my gosh, this is the same author. Like my mind was blown there. And I'm just so excited to see that she's taken off the way she has because her writing has always been amazing. And I feel like all of these books really depict it. And I think it's so interesting too to see what everybody's favorite books are. Because for me, when Happy Place came out, I really, really loved Happy Place with Emily Henry. But I know a lot of people were like hit or miss with it. Or like People We Meet on Vacation is probably my least favorite one. But then other people, that's their favorite one. So it's so interesting. Comment your favorite book by her if you have one or if you haven't read one by her. Maybe this will influence you. And if it doesn't influence you to read it and you already have, maybe to buy this edition of it because she's gorgeous. Those edges, everything. Even when you take off the cover. Hold on. Okay, first of all, the inside matches the edges. So that's a plus too. And then when you take off the cover, it says, I feel overwhelmed that you exist, which is one of my favorite quotes from this whole book. And it's a gorgeous yellow color. I don't know. I'm obsessed with this copy. It's so pretty. It sits at the very tippy top of my bookshelf because I'm so obsessed with it. But this was a more recent read that I had of her this year, and it was beyond a 5 stars. I had so many feelings reading this book. It just was so good, and I've missed Emily Henry so much, and every time she comes out with a book, I think I just get so excited. This wasn't one of her newest ones. I think Funny Story was one that came out this year. That one was one of not my favorite ones. It was probably equal as the People We Meet on Vacation one, unfortunately. But again, I hear mixed reviews on that one. So it's just so fun. But I feel like everybody all around really likes Emily Henry that I've met. Like there's not many people who don't like her books. I think they are just so poetic. I would classify some of them, like Happy Place, more as like literary fiction. It is romance, but like literary fiction romance. There's a lot more depth and emotion that goes in them than just romance. You know, it's not your just basic cookie cutter one that you're reading when you go to the romance section, you know. Highly would recommend starting with Beach Read if you haven't tried Emily Henry before. And if you have read all of her books, go back and support some of her older works, like A Million Junes. I have that copy over there somewhere. Yes, okay. This is A Million Junes. Like, it's just one of her early works, and I'm a huge fan, and I've been following for so long, and I'm so excited to see some of these authors just like blow up. So cool. Another one of the books that I gave 5 stars, which is also, I think, a new author of last year. Maybe not new. Maybe I found her the year before. They all kind of run together, if I'm being honest. But A Wish for You by Tilly Cole. She's not a new author last year. I found her in 2023. Sorry, it took me a second. But A Wish for You by Tilly Cole, which I think actually just got traditionally published in the US. I don't think it was previously, but I read it before it was published, so I need to go buy that book. But if I can find the picture, I'm going to put it up here. But there's a picture of me like sobbing reading this book. Tilly Cole, first of all, don't read any of her books if you don't want to cry because they will make you cry. And I wouldn't even read her books and say like, this is the best like piece of literature I have ever read in my life. I think she's so poetic, blah, blah, blah. No, it's just she has such a way to connect your emotions to the words on the page. And it was just insanity to me. I loved and ate up every second of it. I read this book so unbelievably fast, and I could barely get through 2 chapters without already crying. Like it was, I'm gonna cry thinking about it now. Like it was so good. I liked it even more than A Thousand Boy Kisses, which if you haven't read that one, I think that one's also a little bit controversial. You either love it or you hate it. But if a book can make me have those kinds of emotions where I'm like sobbing, which I don't feel like I've really had that until now, I feel like, I don't know, maybe way back when in like middle school with The Fault in Our Stars, maybe I cried in that book just because middle school me was hormonal. But like this is 10 times that. I don't know. I was obsessed with it. I loved it. I loved the characters, the plot twist that happened at the end, which was in the best way, but also still had you sobbing at the end. Oh my gosh. It was just so much. Definitely check some trigger warnings on that one because I think there's a few in there that maybe you might want to be aware of, just as far as like cancer and some illnesses and things like that go. So check trigger warnings before you read it. But if you want to go to cry, you will find it there. All right, I'm going to pin this onto my shirt real fast because our next book, well, if I can. There we go. Okay, so our next book. If this doesn't tell you how much I loved it, because I rarely will buy multiple copies of books. Come on. There we go. I'm lumping this all into one category. It's Binding and Keeping 13, but I'm making it one category, and I own too many copies of it. I am obsessed with Johnny and Shannon. Shannon like the river. Boom, boom. I love it all. Like every quote you could think of from here. I have one of them annotated a little bit, but I'm obsessed with their love story. The next two Joey stories are a lot. I didn't love them as much as I loved Joey and Aoife. Is that how you say her name? Joey and Aoife were great, amazing. Definitely check trigger warnings for any of these books by Chloe Walsh that you read, but I don't know, something about Shannon and Johnny. Shannon's a shy little girl. She's bullied significantly. She's bullied out of her schools, and this is like her last resort of getting out of her bullying situation and into a new school, and she just wants to like be left alone, fly under the radar, go home. She has a horrible home situation. That's why I say check trigger warnings, got some abuse going on and things like that. But Johnny is Mr. Superstar. He's a rugby player. He's going pro. He's got his whole life ahead of him, but he's going through an injury, and just he's Mr. Player, of course, doesn't get any attached to any women because he's going to go pro anyway, and he's going to leave. And Shannon and Johnny have my heart forever. That was a 6-star read of this year for sure. And aside from Shannon and Johnny, Gipsy and Claire, the whole found family situation in these books really gets me. I was obsessed with them. I loved the friend group. It was just so, so good. But it's an emotional roller coaster. To just believe me when I say that. Again, really check those trigger warnings when you are reading these books. So, so good and worth every second of it. These are thick boys. Thick. I ate it up. I could not put it down. And if it's that thick and I'm reading it that fast, it's good. It's really good. I had so much fun reading it. All right. And our next 5-star read was Powerless this year. Reckless, unfortunately, was not that 5-star read for me, but I'm so excited for Fearless to come out. I loved Powerless. The couple in this series, Kai, y'all, what can I say? Mr. Enforcer. Like, I'm obsessed with them, and the whole world that was built around here, it was just so good. And it was again one of those fantasies where I didn't have to have a ton of brain power going on. Unfortunately, that didn't really carry over to Reckless. I guessed the plot twist that was going to happen, and then I saw everybody on social media freaking out about it, and I was like, I feel like that was really obvious. Like, it just ran in circles for a really long time, and then the plot twist was really obvious at the end. So I don't know, just Powerless to Reckless, not comparable to me. I loved being in the world again with Reckless, but being introduced to the world in the first place and seeing everything come to fruition and what's going on, it was so, so good. I'm not even going to dive into it because I could talk about this book for so long, but I'm so excited for Fearless, and I really hope Fearless redeems it and just brings it all together. I definitely think this could have been a duology and didn't need to be a trilogy just based on how it went. But that's beyond the fact. I'm not going to complain that I got to read more about this entire world and these characters and see them banter back and forth and kind of chase each other in circles. I was okay with it, to be quite honest with you. I really, really was okay with it. So I'm not going to complain about it. Okay, and our last book of 2024 that was a 5-star read for me was Betting on You by Lynn Painter. I love Lynn Painter's books. Not all of them. Some of them have fallen a little flat for me in the past, but the majority of them, like The Do-Over, great Valentine's read, by the way. But Betting on You is too, Better Than the Movies. All of those books, so good. They're more young adult, I would say, young adult romance, but I love a good young adult. Sometimes adult books can, or even new adult books, can just get too much when it comes to the romance and the spice and everything that goes on within them. And sometimes the young adults just like bring you back to your roots a little bit. There's something kind of nostalgic about it, and I loved Lynn Painter's books for the most part. Not all of them are 5 stars for sure, but those 3 that I just listed, Better Than the Movies, The Do-Over, Betting on You, those are definitely like top 3s. Betting on You is a 5 star, and I think Better Than the Movies I also gave 5 stars. So those are definitely my top 2. I really enjoyed the characters in them, the friendships that you find in them, some of the banter that goes on, but they're also, again, younger in high school, that kind of thing. So I haven't read I think I read Better Than the Movies back in like 2023, so it's been a little while, but I know Nothing Like the Movies came out, and I hear mixed reviews on it, but it is on my list, my TBR list, to get done sooner rather than later in 2025. So I've just been kind of hesitant because of so many mixed reviews on it, and I love the couple so much. I don't want to backtrack on it, but anywho, that's beyond the fact. We're talking about Betting on You. That's the one that I read last year that I gave 5 stars, and I would highly recommend Lynn Painter to anybody who just wants an easy read. Valentine's Day is coming up. If you want a Valentine's Day read, The Do-Over and Betting on You are 2 great ones to read for that and get you in the Valentine's Day mood. So I would definitely recommend her as like a new author if you're just kind of dipping your toes in the water when it comes to reading and need something that's a little bit easier to digest, but still want that romance feeling, that happy, kick your feet kind of feeling. She really gives it to you. Anywho, so thank you guys so much for joining in on my videos. I am overwhelmed and so excited and having so much fun filming these, planning these, having a blast. I'm in the middle of filming my first reading vlog, so keep an eye out for that. It'll probably be out sometime next week. For now, I wanted to get you guys another video as soon as I could. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm loving reading these comments, so please, I hope you see that I heart them. I wish I could respond to every single one of them. I'm overwhelmed by it. I'm so happy about it, and I'm excited to be a part of this community. And anything that you would like to see in the future, any video ideas, anything you want to know about me, please let me know. It is mine and my husband's birthday weekend coming up. So mine's Friday, his is Sunday. So we have some people coming into town. So I think I'm also going to film my first just regular vlog of just everything that we do in Atlanta with our friends here and just some of the different places we go, because I think it's going to be a ton of fun. And I'm so excited to introduce some vlogs into this mix as well. And if you don't like the vlogs, let me know, because then I won't bother, but maybe I will, because I love having the memory. So I don't know. I'm excited to do my first vlog, but I really have so much fun just getting to chit chat about books and meet people who have the same book taste, different book tastes, hearing people's different opinions. So please just let me know what your thoughts are on some of these. I would love to know, even some people maybe where these were DNFs. I want to know why you DNF'd it, because I love to see all perspectives when it comes to that kind of stuff. I am going to link my social media down below. So Lemon8, Instagram, TikTok. I post more fun stuff on TikTok, as well as some book hauls and things like that. So go follow me on there. But until then, thank you guys so much for listening in, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.